In this video, I'm going to show you how to double, triple, or even quadruple your sign-up unit performance with forms that actually convert. With rising CPM cost, advertising getting more expensive, and customers taking longer to convert, it's more important than ever for e-com brands to make their marketing more efficient. This is where growing your email list comes into play. It's an owned asset you can take wherever you need to go. No matter what happens to Facebook ads, what happens to social, what happens to the internet, you can take that customer list with you and keep your business running. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you some forms and some ideas on how to make your forms convert better. Growing an email list is essential to keep your brand healthy and running. 90, 95, 98% of the customers that visit your site won't make a purchase on that visit. That's why it's so important to build trust with them over time so that when they are ready to buy, they will choose your brand. We do this with an email list. When it comes to managing that email list, if you do it properly, it turns visitors into subscribers, into customers, into VIP buyers. This is what I like to call the cold to sold pathway. It takes people from not knowing your brand to being loyal, repeat buyer, advocates for your products. Pop-up forms are like the front line to growing your email list. The first piece to your email strategy should be to grow it, to gather customers' information, to gather subscribers' information, to get them on your list. The reason being is the longer and more time you get to spend with them, the more trust they build for you and your brand. And while some customers convert, 3 to 7 to maybe even 10% of them convert on the first engagement, 90 to 95% of them won't buy for the first 90 days. And you need to engage and nurture them over time and get them into that first purchase with email. Mistake number one on your sign-up unit is that the offer is not compelling enough. Most brands offer a discount. They offer a gift card. They offer some kind of BOGO or buy one, get one. These offers can work for your brand, but it has to match your brand, your product, and what your customer wants. If you get this combo right, your offer is going to carry the weight of your sign-up unit performance. With those 9 mistakes in mind, I want to show you a form that gets it right. They have a high conversion rate because they know what to do and they do not make these mistakes with their pop-up forms. So to start with, let's start with mistake number 1. The offer isn't strong enough. In this form, the offer is strong, it's clear, and it's very, very simple to read. For this industry and this product, get 10% off your order is a great offer. That's something you need to keep in mind. The context of your product, your brand, and in your industry. 10% off your order seems like a common offer, but for what this brand is selling, it's a strong offer. You need to know what your competitors and what your market's actually responding to make sure you're making an offer that's compelling to them. Mistake number 2, the time delay for the form to show up is way too fast. If you show that form way too quick, most people will X out of it and forget they even saw it. So what you want to do with this mistake is you want to fix it, and you want to either set it up to be a scroll depth trigger or a product page viewing trigger. If you show this form on the homepage before somebody has any chance of shopping, they're probably not going to use that incentive or sign up for your list. For this form, if we go to targeting behavior, this form's actually set up to show when the visitors are exiting the page. So there's 2 reasons why they're doing this. 1, I don't want to interrupt the customer shopping experience. And if they buy without seeing this form, we're not losing margin on our products. But if somebody's shopped a product and they go to leave the site, this form and this offer is used to bring them back to say, hey, reconsider it. Reconsider the thing you're buying. Here's a 10% off coupon. So instead of popping this form up immediately, we're actually popping it up on the tail end of the experience if they're leaving. If they're not leaving, we're keeping that margin and they're purchasing without a coupon. Mistake number 3 is that you're asking for too much information on the sign-up form. A lot of brands like to ask for first name, last name, email, phone, your favorite cookie, whatever first-party data they're trying to get, and it's way too much. We want to lower the barrier to entry and increase the offer so that more people sign up to your list and you can get that first party data later with specific emails, triggers, flows, and other surveys. This form gets it right. It asks for 2 things: to consider the offer and to use your email address to get the offer. It asks for nothing else. And if there's any first party data, which I know this brand does, they do get it when the person's on the email list. They don't ask for it up front. The barrier to entry to get this 10% off is super low. That's why they have a high conversion rate for their industry. Mistake number 4 is that your form is loading too slowly. So once it pops up and your customer engages with it, if they're typing in their information or they're hitting submit, you want to make sure that form is loading and responding quickly. If it takes too long, your customer will exit out of that and potentially you might lose that sale because they're frustrated with your form. You want that form to work properly. You want it to work quickly, and you want it to work exactly how your customer needs it to work. Once this form pops up on the site, it is quick to load and it's easy to use. The reason being is it's preloaded and we wait to show it on the exit intent. So the customer's on the site for a while and technically that form is available in the background ready to go instead of rushing to get to the front, or it's the first thing that loads after the site loads. This is a great way to keep your form fresh. It's a great way to keep it easy to use, and it's a great experience for your customers because they don't have to wait for a response from the form. It's happening almost instantly. Mistake number 5 has to do with size. If the form is too small, if the text is too small, if the buttons are too small, or even too big, it makes it tough for your customer to engage with the form and actually enter their information. So you want to make sure and test on desktop and on mobile how that form is actually showing up so your customer can actually read it and engage with it properly. This form does not make that mistake. This size that you see on your screen is about the size that it is on the website. The great thing about this is too, mistake number 6 and 7 are also not made. Mistake number 6 has to do with having too much copy on the form. You want to make sure the copy is concise and to the point. If you deliver a wall of text, your customer is most likely going to check out, they're going to X out, and you're potentially going to lose the sale because you interrupted their buying process. Lead with the offer, keep the copy concise, and give them a clear next step to take. When it comes to the copy, when it comes to the size of the form, when it comes to what's going on this form, keep it concise, keep it tight, and keep it to the point. Mistake number 7 is similar to number 6. It has to do with design. If you have too many elements cluttered onto the form, what it does is causes confusion and it makes it too hard or too difficult to consume or read that form. This means the customer, like too much copy or too much text, they're going to exit out of the form and they're not going to submit it. So you want to make sure your design, if any, is clean. You want to make sure your copy and your text is concise, and you want to lead with that offer and make sure the next step is super clear so that your customer is not confused, because we all know a confused customer does not buy. There's not too much copy and there's not too much going on. They keep everything spaced out perfectly. They have a nice clean design. The image they're using is not intrusive, but it is beneficial to the customer and showing them what they're actually getting the 10% off for. And the copy is spaced out in proper sizes. In some cases, or in cases here, we have some social proof, 42,804 travelers. So join 42,000 people on this list. There's a ton of social proof in that. And also too, the offer is repeated in the copy and it's bolded, get 10% off your order. And their copy is simple and to the point. The rest of it, plus a weekly email to inspire you in celebrating your life story. A weekly email to get a goal or get an outcome, right? It's very simple. It's very to the point. It's customer oriented. The other piece of this is the sign up button doesn't say subscribe or submit or yes. What it says is, yes, I want 10% off. It's speaking and saying what the customer is going to say or ideally says when they go to click on this button. Finally, mistake number 8, the offer is unclear. As we've already talked about, this offer is super clear. Get 10% off your order. It's to the point, it's concise, it doesn't leave any room for interpretation. The customer knows what they're getting if they sign up for this form. Mistake number 9, make sure your form is not easy to close. We want to cause some friction and make it tough to close because the easiest path forward in this case is to fill out the form and submit it. If your form is easy to close, you're going to lose conversions simply because your customer doesn't take the time to stop, look at the form, and actually consider the offer. This form has a small, simple X up here in the top right, and it also has a no, I don't want to pay full price. So there's 2 things you want to keep in mind here. 1, every form's going to have an X like this. It's very small and it's up in the corner. So it's not the main thing sticking out for the customer to find. And also 2, if they are engaged in the copy and they are reading, you're causing an emotional friction point by saying, no, I want to pay full price. Do not give me this coupon code. Not many people are not going to take a coupon code in that sense, right? So when it comes to closing this out, there's 2 ways to do it, but there's friction. It's not the main thing sticking out that the customer can see, and it's not easy to actually click on, and there's an emotional friction point of, yeah, I don't want to pay full price. I do want 10% off. Maybe I will sign up. So when it comes to the mistakes, the 9 mistakes, this form does not make any of them, and it gets it right. That's why their conversion for this form is so high for their industry. Now that you've seen an example of a form that works really well in the industry that it's in, I want to walk you through the 5 steps to create a form inside of Klaviyo. Now, the first step to creating a form in Klaviyo that actually converts, what you need to do is come up with your offer. The offer drives everything. Now, what you see on the screen now are basically 19 to 20 different ways you can make an offer. There's more than this. This list is not exhaustive. So whatever offer makes sense for your brand and your customers, that's what you want to make, you want to come up with. Here's some examples. This one we've seen before, 10% off your first purchases. Another one, 15% off site-wide sale, but you only get the code if you sign up. Here's another one, $20 off orders over $100. So you're enticing and incentivizing people to spend more money. Another one here is free shipping on orders over $120. And if you want free shipping, you have to be a subscriber. Here's another one, $25 account credit for future purchases. So if you buy now, we'll give you $25 to spend later. Here's another one, buy 2, get 1 free. Another one, 25% off select items. So instead of it being a site-wide sale, maybe it's just a collection or a category. If it's not a category, then maybe it's one product. It really depends on what you're trying to do and the goals you're trying to meet for your brand. That's why when it comes to making an offer, there's almost endless options on what to actually offer your customers. You just need to find and figure out which one makes the most sense for your customers right now with this offer on this form. You know how important it is to grow your email list. And now you know how important a sign-up unit or a pop-up form is to doing that and achieving that goal. You also know the 9 mistakes that most pop-up forms make. And if you get them right, you're going to increase your conversion rate. So the first form we're going to look at is similar to the first one we saw in this video. This is a client of ours. This is what we would call a classic offer form. So this is the standard form, but for the industry and for what they're offering, what our client's offering here, it's a strong offer and it's a great form. What you've got here is the testimonial social proof at the top. You got the offer clear and concise here in the middle, offering 10% off a specific item. So that's similar to that list I showed you earlier. It's one of those ways you can offer it. This one also uses the social proof here. Join 29,000 people and receive 10% off your order of liver support. And then also to plus get a weekly email to inspire your health and wellness journey. And then the information it's asking for, we are asking for a first name. In this one, the conversion rate has actually been going up with this, adding the first name in, which is great, but we're asking for minimal information. Yes, I want 10% off, and no, I want to pay full price. So when it comes to this is what we call a classic form. If you're offering percentage off or some kind of discount or account credit for a given product, show that product image over here so people know what they're getting. So yeah, that's the classic form. The next form we want to look at is called the quiz form. So one of our other clients here, they actually offer quizzes to help people find the supplements and the products that they're looking for based on their health concerns. So if we click on any of these, it'll actually start a quiz. And they built their quizzes through Typeform. And essentially, as you complete these quizzes, you can share information with the brand and they're going to help you achieve a goal based on what the quiz is called. And at the end of this, they ask here to subscribe to the email list to actually get on to join. In this case, they say skip this question and get the results. In most cases, I would say let's actually ask for the email address to give the quiz to them through email. So yeah, that's your quiz form. And then the final one, this is an example from Attentive, but the spin to win model. So you've probably seen a version of this. I believe Privy has one that pops out from the side from left to right. And essentially what it is you click the button to interact with it and it gives you a percentage off that you're going to get if you sign up. So what this one does is it gamifies it, makes it feel like more like a casino. If you're able to cover the margin on different types of percentages and just different products, this is a good option. This model in this form does typically increase conversion rate, but it decreases engagement on the back end because people who play games like these or are wired to respond to these typically are not long-term type customers. That's my opinion. That's what I've seen in the last 4 years of doing this. So if you do use this, just know that, yeah, you might increase conversions and grow your list, but the back end or the backside of that is more of these people that sign up through a spin to win actually going to be less engaged, and it's going to take you more work and more time to keep them around to buy again. Now that you know the 3 main types of forms you can make for your brand, I want to go into Klaviyo and show you how to create a classic form from start to finish. So when you log into Klaviyo, you'll end up on your dashboard here. On the left in the menu, you're going to see sign up forms. Click on that. Depending on if you already have forms created or if you haven't created any yet, you're going to see a screen like this or a list of forms. What we want to do is, for this example, we're going to create a new sign up form, which you can either click a button here or you can click one of the default setups here. You can also search through pop-up, flyout, embed, full page, or full screen. These are different types of forms that you can use to gain subscribers and grow your list. Also, you can look at categories. So you can collect emails, just email, just phone, email and phone. You can make an announcement, know your customer. So that's first party data gathering, and then coupons and offers. Depends on what you want to do, but there's different forms for different goals. What we're going to do is create a classic form. So we're going to create a new sign up form here. This list, these forms need to be attached to where we're going to send the user. So if they fill out this form, what list are they going to be added to in Klaviyo? From an earlier video, we created this, but we're going to click new subscribers and the form type. So is it a pop-up, a full page, a flyout, or an embed? We're going to go ahead and pop-up. That's the most common. A full page will fill the entire page. A flyout will come from the side or the corner and you decide where. And an embed, you actually put on a page and it only lives on that page. We're going to go with pop-up. This is where the form starts. We can make this look however we want. So we want to start with styles. This is a pop-up. We want to look at width. Typically I like to go with large. Here we can look at no side image, left side image, right side image. I typically, if it's for ecom, we do a right side image and we put the product that we're actually offering or the bundle or whatever the offer is, we put over here as an image, and then we update the copy here on the right. Let's go ahead and update this information for the image. So we'll have right side image there. And then we want to do all devices, background color, background image. You can mess with that and just change the colors to meet your brand, corner radius, button, focus, outline color, etc. So that's all here. This is all color and design based stuff. So once the style's done, we want to go into targeting and behavior. We don't want to design the form yet. We want to make sure this is set up properly. So depending on what you want to do, the timing, typically you do not want to set it on immediately. You want to set it on based on rules. And then depending on what your goal is with it, either when a visitor exits the page, you show it to them, or you do it after a time delay. Reason being is you want this form to show up at the right time, either when somebody is maybe 15 seconds into a product page, or they're leaving the site after they've seen a product page and you're going to offer them an incentive to stay and buy that product or shop. If you offer it any sooner, most of the time people will just X out of it and ignore it because they're not ready to spend money yet. They're still shopping, right? So you want to make that offer at the right time. So typically I suggest based on rules, and then when a visitor exits the page, how often, so the frequency here, after a visitor closes this form, when to show it again. I usually do one day. If they're shopping, they're probably once, twice, maybe 3 times a week. We want to make this offer to them each time they exit the site to see if we can get them to come in and buy. Don't show again if form was submitted or if go to URL button was clicked, right? So we don't want to show it if they've already engaged with it. Devices, both desktop and mobile, click outside to form to close, desktop and mobile. So that's the display part of it. Targeting. So we definitely do not want to show to existing Klaviyo profiles. This is a new subscriber growth piece. We don't want to show to our existing profiles because they've already got the code, the discount, the offer, and them getting that offer again doesn't add to our list, so we don't use the form for that in most cases. So the URLs tool here is really interesting. Typically what I do is don't show on certain URLs, and I put exactly matching the homepage. Region, state, country, etc., where only visitors from certain locations get this form. If you're in the US and you're selling across the pond, you want to make sure your GDPR compliance and things like that are in place, and you want to create a separate form for that part of your market. And also too, you can say don't show to visitors in certain locations as well if there's some countries or regions that you don't want to show to. So there's the targeting. Next, we can build out and design and create this form. So pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. Click on these elements and you can update them. The text one is pretty straightforward. The one thing or the two things I want to show you is with the email, you want to make sure that the placeholder text is appropriate. You want to make sure that the field is required, which if it's the email, it should be auto required. You want to make sure the invalid text, if somebody puts in an email that doesn't work, actually shows up. So make sure those things are there. The next thing you want to look at is the subscribe button. So you want to triple check that this button is connected to the proper list. So the action for the form is to submit the form, right? The list that it's being submitted to, which we set up prior to getting into this piece when we created the form and asked us for this. We want to make sure it's on the proper list, which is new subscribers for our situation. This list is going to be whatever you want to create. So you got to go into your segments, profiles and profiles and list tab and create a segment or a list that this form is going to feed into. And then you want to select that list here. And then after submit, you have a few options, but in most cases you want to show next step, which in this case, you can add SMS up here in the middle. You can add different things, different first party data questions, etc. So you could ask for just the email here and then ask for more questions down the form. You get their email, but if they don't do anything else with the second, third, fourth step of like asking for their birthday or asking what their pet's name is or asking what their primary concern is with their health. If they don't fill that stuff out, that's fine. You got their email. If they do fill it out, you have more first party data. And then down here in the submit hidden field, the profile property section, this source is basically just saying what the signup unit was. So new signup unit is the name of this form. And that's the source that's going to go as a profile property into the customer's profile when they join your list. So you can create segments off this. You can create different variations of segments. So you can know, okay, if I want to segment customers that came in on a specific form and did some other action like purchase a product or viewed a product, or if you're doing data on signups compared to shopping, compared to revenue generated from that person from a certain form source, you can do things like that. It's a little complicated. It is data, and it does give you an idea of which form's actually turning into conversions and which form is just getting you signup units. So similar to that spin to win form, it may be getting you signup units, but it's not turning into revenue. It may not be a form to use. For some brands, it works really well. For most, it's not something you want to dive into, and that's okay. It's just the data you got to look at. And then finally, here's the custom features of this form. You can change subscribe or yes, I want X, and that changes the form, font, color, etc. Background color, which here it looks like it's like a charcoal gray or so. You can change that and it'll change the form. With that being said, that's pretty much everything on this form that you would need to build it. If you want to add blocks, button, images, countdown timers, etc., you can do that with these. You just click and drag and drop, and you can put start and end dates on these for the form if you're doing a certain type of sale. And then so any other blocks you need, it's in this section here under blocks. So you just drag and drop. For the image, you just click on it and you can browse the image library or drag and drop an image from your computer and just drop it in here and it'll load. And then you just mess with these settings until the form is where you like it. Once it's ready, you just come up here and click publish. In some cases it has alerts, but if everything's good to go, you don't have to worry about that. You can hit publish and publish anyway, and it'll make this unit, the sign up unit or this form live. And if you want to go check it out on your site, you can go in incognito, go look at your site, browse it, and then take the action or the trigger that it takes to get this form to show up, and the form will show up because you're not signed up to the list. So that is how you create a form in Klaviyo. Now the next piece on this form is how to set up an A/B test. These are super important. You can test different offers, you can test different images, test different copies. The one thing I would say with testing forms is to pick one element to test at a time. If you test the offer, the copy you're using for that offer, and what the text that's on the button, let's say conversions go up, you don't know if it's the offer, the button, or the copy. Test one element at a time and do it for at least 30 days or 1,000 submissions. That's going to get you enough data, either the 30-day limit or the 1,000 submissions, give you significant amount of data to actually make a decision on which one's actually working better. So we're going to return to the form here. We had Klaviyo. We're going to go up here to the top left. There's different ways to get into it. This form is published, but we'll create an A/B test up here. Just click that button. And what it'll do is you'll have a test name. Yeah, new sign up unit test May 31st, 2024 at the time of this recording. And then what you want to do is name the form, sign up unit 1. And it could be as simple as sign up unit 1, sign up unit 2. So let's copy and paste that. Sign up unit 2. Okay. And then you want to create test, and then the test has been created. So if you want to edit certain forms, what you want to do is go to continue test settings in the top right. And then from here, you can edit the forms individually. So sign up unit 1 is the original, sign up unit 2 is the new one. Let's say we want to edit sign up unit 2 here, and we want to change out this timer. So we don't want to add a timer, and we want to add a social proof element. So you're going to remove the timer, delete it, and then add in here, best product of my life. And so the element you're testing here is the social proof piece versus a timer. Does urgency and scarcity work with this offer, or does social proof and proof that the product is actually good drive this offer and actually make the offer work? So that's one element. Just test one element at a time, and you can test those two against each other. Going back to continue test settings, if you have enough traffic, if you have enough volume, or you're going to run this test for a long enough time, you can add in variations, which is super helpful. So here's the name, sign up unit 3, and you can do multiple variations. So for example, if we were to go in here and edit this form, it's going to show the form number 2. And so maybe we take this out and we add something else in. So that top piece, let's put in an image up here. So let's say we're testing an image. So we got an image, we got social proof, and we got a timer. And so we're going to test that and see which one actually drives conversions, increase, decrease, or otherwise, right? If it's a lever or not. So that's an example of a third variation of this testing the form. Let's go back to the test settings here and show you a few more things. So something else too is once you start a test or get ready to start it, you need to select how you're going to actually choose a winner. So either you can automatically end the test when statistical significance is achieved. If you're not sure if you have enough volume or you're just not sure what that means, I would leave this box checked and let this thing run. Klaviyo AI is actually pretty good at choosing a winner based on time, duration, volume, whatever the metric is that determines it. If you have enough volume and you know what you're doing and you want to set a time limit, set this thing for at least 30 days out and let that run and see which one wins. In some cases, you'll know the winner within a couple days, a couple weeks. In some cases, you need to run longer than 30. It just depends on your volume and what kind of data you're getting. And then finally, down here in the box, you can add a description to say, okay, we have 3 variations. We're testing this element and we're running it for 30 days. And so just your tests that you're actually running, put those notes in the box so that you have an idea when you come back to this, or if somebody else is doing this, when they come back to it, they know what they're testing and why, and you can keep that stuff consistent. So that is how you set up an A/B test with the form. So now that I've shown you how to set up a basic test with the form, that top element with the social proof, with the image, with the countdown timer, what I want to walk you through now is 7 different A/B tests you can run based on leverage. And leverage meaning getting the best possible performance out of your form with making 1 or 2 changes to each of these areas. So when we look at this list here, the main thing we want to look at is the offer. If you're going to test anything and test anything at all, you want to test your offer. 10% off, account credit, BOGO, gift card, whatever that may be, you want to test that before you test anything else and see what actually gets a conversion. If the customer doesn't know what's in it for them, or they don't understand what's in it for them, or what's in it for them is not attractive enough, they're not going to convert no matter how pretty your form looks. So if you're going to test anything from a leverage standpoint, test your offer. Number 2 here is a form type. So we talked about form types earlier in this video. You have your classic, you have your quiz, you have your spin to win. There are other form types, but those are the 3 core ones you want to test. Start with the classic. Start with the classic and start with testing the offer on the classic and see if you can find a winning combo. If you want to change the form, go with the quiz form. Maybe it makes more sense to run a quiz to say, hey, what kind of health concerns are you dealing with? Can you share a little bit of the pain points? Can you share what you've tried? And based on that, you can offer products to people and also get them to sign up with their email. So if that's the case, then your offer is we're going to give you suggestions and recommendations, plus maybe a percentage off or an account credit for taking the quiz. You want to pair this offer and form type up appropriately so your customers are getting what they want out of engaging with you. Now, the third thing I want you to test after you get your offer and your form type picked out and optimized is close form functionality. How easy or difficult is it for somebody to get out of your form? Because if the friction point is easier to submit the form than it is to leave it, you're going to get a percentage uptick or 2 when it comes to actually getting submissions. Now, different ways you can do this. You can change where the X is. You can change the color of the X. You can change the phrasing under the button saying, no, I do want to pay full price. So there's an emotional friction point for them to actually close the form if they do click that wording. So there's different ways to do this. There's different things to test, but remember, test one element at a time. The fourth piece to test is your time delay. So like I mentioned, you can do exit intent, you can do time delay on the page, you can do time delay or scroll depth on the page. So time delay is one element, but pick which functionality or how you're going to show the form and test which one works better. So maybe you start with an exit intent and you run that for a quarter. And then maybe quarter 2, you start with a time delay. You wait 15, 20, 30 seconds before you show the form, whatever that time delay is. But again, test one element at a time. Get your offer, your form type, your closed form functionality figured out, and then look at, okay, how long do we delay to show the form? Do we show it sooner? Do we show it later? Do we show it on exit intent? Do we show it on visiting a certain product? Whatever it may be, test that and optimize it. The fifth way you can test is your photo content or the images you use on the form. So as you saw in some of the forms today in this video, they were product based, they had an offer, they were very clear and concise, but update that product image every 30 days, update it every quarter, whatever it may be. Test that image once you have the other items above this, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Once you have those optimized into a certain point, start testing the image, rotate the images out every 2 weeks, whatever that time frame may be. Just keep the time frame consistent and test different images. It's going to help conversion. Number 6 is the copy. So the offer and the copy are separate things, but the offer is what drives the conversion. The copy is what gives context on why the customer should take the offer. So test your copy, change out how you say the offer, change out how you present the discount, the BOGO, whatever it may be. Use different words, change one word to change a sentence, change the social proof you use above the form. There are dozens and dozens of elements you can test on this form to optimize for it. You just want to make sure, again, you're testing one element at a time. And then the final thing and the last thing, the lowest lever point of these 7 A/B tests is colors. You'll see studies and percentages and things all over websites saying if you use an orange button versus a purple button, you get a better conversion rate. Sure, that might be true if you're not testing anything else and the offer is already optimized and the form is already dialed in. The last thing you want to do is test colors. The first thing you want to test is offer. The last thing is colors. So not saying they're not important, but they are a low lever pull when it comes to optimizing for your form. All right, now that's everything you need to know about how to create a sign up form in Klaviyo and or any other email software. Now that you know how to do that and you're already doing that for your brand, the next few things you need to know is what kind of welcome flow am I going to send? What kind of emails am I going to send? How am I going to get these people joining my list to actually make a purchase? And if you want to learn more about that, check out our videos on our YouTube channel, or you can check out the first link in the description below to book a call with us, and we'd be more than happy to check out your brand and see how we can help.